Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, it's worrying, isn't it? The sort of unending spate, the unending banditry spree in the northern Nigeria. So much so that in very recent times, everybody has been, seeking to intervene. Some time ago, the Sultan of Sokoto had asked government to step up its intelligence. Camps are being attacked. And quite frankly, it looks like, in fact, there are those who are saying that it seems to have become something of an industry now, banditry, kidnapping, and the like. Well, we have an expert today, a conflict researcher, Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufa'i. He joins us from Sokoto now to look at this problem. A fine morning to you, Dr. Rufa'i, and thank you very much for making time for us.
Good morning.
Thank you. Yori Folani is my name in Lagos here. Thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Everybody must be worried, certainly a conflict researcher. Well, yes, of course you'll be worried, but does the research say that it is on the increase? Because we've heard that it looks as if this is actually a business now, something of an industry now. In other words, it is being planned and it's not spontaneous. Give me your thoughts on the increasing spate of banditry up in the north.
Thank you very much. First of all, I feel it is important for me to provide clarifications. Armed banditry or rural banditry, for instance, is more in the northwest, not the entire northern Nigeria. And even in the northwest, for instance, there are states like Kano and Jigawa that are not deeply affected by the menace of armed banditry. That is one. Number two, which is also another important clarification, in my own personal opinion, and I'm sure I'm entitled to my opinion, armed banditry is declining. I am sure people will be surprised to hear this, because looking at the historical trajectories of rural banditry and armed banditry across the Northwest, in my opinion, it is actually going down. It is going down because what we see in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and even some part of 2020, for instance, where you see armed groups, 120, 150 of them storming a village, killing every living thing. What I mean by living thing here is they kill everything or every person that comes their way, including children, including women, for instance, including the old, including people living with disabilities. That is not what we are witnessing in 2024. That is a point that we should understand. And at a point in time, in the same period I'm talking about, 2016, 17, 18, 19, for instance, look at the rates of the casualties. Look at the nature of the spread of this armed banditry. Look at the nature of even the attacks. These attacks were on a daily basis. But what do we see today? We see pockets of kidnapping. And even before now, particularly in 2024, when this same administration came on board in 2023, the first 3-4 months, in my opinion, were relatively peaceful. Relatively peaceful because there was a very serious engagement at the background, stakeholder engagement, dialogue, and discussions with some of these armed groups. And that is why there was actually a fall or a decline or a certain level of stability in the acts. But why the sudden rise and increase in this crisis or this conflict? And even the conflict, let us get it also very clear. We are talking about abduction. Abduction, abduction. Of course, there are cases of attacks and also killings of innocent people in communities, but it's not as rampant as what was in the past, one. And now kidnapping is the trend. And looking also at the historical trends, This is something that started with the act of cattle rustling. And when it graduated from cattle rustling, it moved into the main act of what? The main act of armed banditry. Not even cattle rustling, sorry. As a farmer had an issue that's transformed into cattle rustling. Cattle rustling actually graduated into the act of banditry. And by extension, the bandits going into communities, killing every living thing. You can't count the number of communities that were destroyed, that were actually displaced by these bandits during this period. But in 2024, what do we see? We see a return of this violence, specifically abductions, with very few cases of attacks on communities. The question is why?
Yes.
When the same government came on board, to be very frank and candid with you, I'm a research person and also conduct research at the grassroots. The communities have hope, confidence, trust, and optimism on the part of the government at all levels. Here I'm talking about at state and also federal level. They have the belief and the feelings that this new set of leaders that emerged after the election were people that are absolutely neutral in terms of armed banditry. If I talk about neutral here or neutrality here, I am talking about people that are fresh into the system. And these bandits, including the victims, have the hope that they will come to an end of this particular conflict. We've seen communities organizing prayers for the Zamfara state government when he came aboard. We've also seen communities not sponsored, not politically motivated, also praying, organizing prayers for the governor of Katsina State, the Korada. So also in Sokoto. And when you look at the nature of this governors that are very determined, hardworking, and came with the zeal to work. But unfortunately, they derailed. They derailed because the idea of vigilantism, people will call it vigilante, but in my opinion, I don't see them as the vigilante I know. I more or less see them as members of ethnic militias, if you like. I also see them as members of the militant vigilante group that we see operated in Zamfara in 2014, 2015, and 2016. That is the Ansakai. We've seen them in southern part of Kepi. They operated in Zulu. We've seen them operating in the eastern part of Sokoto, around Isa and the Sabon areas here in Sokoto. We've also seen large chunk of them in Katsina, not to talk of Zamfara, where they have a structure from the state commandant down to the local government and even ward commandant. These were people that are actors in this particular conflict. They are party in the conflict, and they form part and parcel of the initial factors that led to the rise of armed banditry. These are groups that are basically largely mono-ethnic in nature, belonging to a particular ethnic group. That is one. Number two, there is no proper documentation and orientation and understanding of those people, including the understanding of their typologies. They were employed and also given the opportunity to come and operate. In the course of these operations, what do we see? Nobody is against the NSAC or the militant vigilante group, for instance, but they are to operate in the forest. They should take the fight to the bandits. But I'm telling you, there has never been a time in my career of research or understanding of these people where they organize themselves independently here. What I mean by independently is independent of the military, independent of other security forces to go and fight these bandits. Knowing fully well that they know these bandits by their names, by their location, by their family background, by where they operate. They know them, not only the leaders, even the foot soldiers are known by these people. But the question is, why can't they take the fight to them? That is the fundamental question. But what they do, and the most annoying part of it, is extrajudicial killings. We've seen in recent times media reporting extrajudicial killings by these groups. But I also want you to understand there are 1,001 cases that are underreported or not reported at all. Because those that were reported to some extent are related to people that are influential in the society.
Okay, sorry there. We just lost sound momentarily. I suspect that his device might have gone to sleep and he's waking it up again.
Sorry.
Aha. So, okay, you're back now. You're back. Yeah.
So what I am saying is those extrajudicial killings reported by the media are those that occurred in the urban centers or in towns where people have access to social media. But believe me, there are 1,001 cases that are not reported at all. And the mode of operation of this vigilante group, again, they operate like bandits. They move in bands, on motorcycles, ransacking communities, identifying people who they thought are informants, killing them at sight. And that is what is actually inciting this violence, and there is no any other reason behind the rise of this violence other than the celebration and the political party, the celebration and the graduation of these people we see that are called the vigilante. More importantly, I also want us to take note, there are quite a number of them that were recruited and trained that could not go back to their villages. They could not go back to their villages because of several reasons. One of the reasons is that their villages were absolutely against their participation because these villages were in peace. They have actually found a way of creating peace for themselves. Now, the mere fact that having one of them to participate in vigilantism, meaning that trust and that peace accord is broken. And on that basis, some of these people could not go back to their villages. That is one. Number two, there are people with a very criminal background employed in the name of what? In the name of vigilantism, in the name of this new form of vigilantism. Some of them find it very difficult to go back home, even though they feel, yes, they need to go back home. And not only that, there are also quite a number of them that were profiled by the bandits. They want them to come back home so that they will get them eliminated. Meaning this method, in a nutshell, it is not a method that will ensure solution and enduring solution to armed banditry. The only option, in my opinion, is dialogue. And I have a reason for saying that. Now, in the history of armed banditry, particularly in Zamfara, where I know very, very well, Shinkafi local government area was at a point in time a dead end. A dead end in the sense that every now and then, 2016, 17, 18, you heard of attacks. And these attacks, the bandits have succeeded in raiding virtually most of the villages to the extent of daring and moving into the main local government headquarters, which is Shinkafi town. Even Shinkafi town, at a point in time, was ransacked, and large number of people in the local government area had actually fled to other safe or safer areas. But as we speak today, Shinkafi is the most peaceful local government in Zamfara. In fact, Shinkafi town, as we speak, is more peaceful, free of abduction, free of attack, free of human rights violations than even metropolitan Gusau, which is the state capital. Why is it so? Because the communities have actually identified the problem, they have identified their differences, and they have sat down and agreed collectively to address their differences, and that is why they have peace. Banditry in the northwestern Nigeria, an additional point, to some extent is associated with Kachala Turiji. Kachala Turiji is alive, is active, he is today in Fakai. in the same Shinkafi local government area. He operates around Shinkafi and the Isa local communities have succeeded today, have succeeded in sitting down with him and even his boys. And there is absolute peace has returned. And they have organized what they have formed committees, and these committees meet on weekly and on monthly basis to review the progress so far in terms of what? In terms of what they were able to achieve. And now we have seen, of course, bandits in Shinkafi local government with their rifles, but having nothing to do with the rifles. Some of them will tell you that they are sick and tired of carrying this rifle around because there is now peace in the land. This same bandit we are talking about in Shinkafi will not in any way engage in attack on their own community. Neither will they also allow any other bandit to intrude and also attack the same local government area. By extension, there is peace. And this peace is as a result of dialogue. And in my opinion, if there will be peace in Shinkafi, I see no reason why there won't be peace in Benongwari in Kaduna State. Neither, or there won't be peace in Basari in Katsina, or there won't be peace in Isa and Sabon Birni in Sokoto State. What is required is sustained and committed leadership that will engage these people. 99% of the bandits are known by their names. At a point in time, we are talking about the foreign militias. At a point in time, we are talking about foreign mercenaries. But what do we see today? They are people that we know, they know, and they are people that are known by the community. And if you give the community the chance today to engage, I'm telling you, they will engage and engage fruitfully, and the whole story will come to an end. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Rufa'i. That is something of a tour de force. Especially when you started the area where you're speaking about neutrality upon the change of guard, neutrality in terms of banditry, and also your opinion that, look, the only way out, as has been proved in certain areas, is dialogue and negotiation. Well, maybe shed a bit more light on there, because that very process has been viewed with suspicion, maybe not from those who are directly concerned, but for other persons, other commentators around the country. You remember, it might be a totally different thing perhaps, but back in the days of El Rufa'i as governor, he had not had a good experience with trying to negotiate, trying to dialogue with them. That had gone very, very badly wrong, and he thereupon had sworn that never again. So that area, surely it must be managed very, very carefully. And these people, indeed the people who are being dialogued with, negotiated with, and you said everybody really knows everybody, when we come down to the brass tracks, how can they be trusted? And even if you do trust them, are they not constituting themselves then as a law unto themselves based on the force that they know they can deploy if necessary? What does
Thank you very much. I think the government of the day is very economical with facts.
Okay.
What I mean is there are a lot of happenings on the ground that were not mentioned and also not open to the conventional media. This same government that we are talking about, when it came on board, when some people came out with the idea of, okay, now let us try this issue of dialogue, 782 people were released unconditionally by the bandits. Unfortunately, nowhere in the social media, nowhere in either the printed or the electronic media where you get this information. They were released unconditionally in the sense that not a single dime was paid. Rather, it was the outcome of a sustained dialogue. It was the outcome of engaging the appropriate people and also at the appropriate time. We have seen some of these bandits that have repented with the emergence of this government. I am an eyewitness. I participated in the dialogue. Let me be very frank and candid with you. I joined some of the teams that went to the den. We met these people. We sat down with them. We discussed with them. Some of them even surrendered their weapons. It's to tell you the level of what? It's to tell you the level of trust and the level of confidence they actually have on this particular government. But the only challenge that I see is that the government wasn't too comfortable with the approach, even though it was working, even though it was actually yielding fruits, but it was done on the ground. That is a challenge, and a very big challenge. For all those that followed some of these activities and conduct researches on this, they will tell you that there is no solution to armed banditry other than dialogue. Of course, some people, more especially within the media cycle, will tell you that it was done in the past. I will say yes, and at the same time, I will also say no. Why am I saying yes? We have seen bandits assembled by state governors, petting them, joking with them, telling them beautiful stories in the name of what? In the name of dialogue. We have seen governors, for instance, inviting bandits into the government house. I know a state in the Northwest where in the same government house there were apartments for repentant bandits. And they are called repentant bandits, but in the actual sense of the word, if they are sick and tired of their atrocities, in the forest, they retire back to government house and dine and even wine with those in authority. We have also seen in the same northwestern Nigeria where a major bandit kingpin was made a special advisor to one of the governors in the past. That is not dialogue. Not only that, all this process from Katsina to Sokoto to Zamfara, for instance, and from Katsina to Sokoto and Zamfara, where people talked about the dialogue, meet them and ask them, how was it done? What is the process of the documentation? What is the mode of engagement? Who and who were you able to engage? And how did you engage them? And what is the outcome? Did you succeed in mapping these people? Did you succeed in profiling them?
Well, this is all very,
because
this is very intriguing.
Dr.
Rufai, I beg your pardon for interrupting you. I just wanted sort of a breaking, I beg your pardon for interrupting you. Breaking news right now on our screen. We can see the Air Force, is that Air Force One? The president is landing in Niger State, and that's just like breaking news. Indeed, I should be coming right back to you, Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufa'i, conflict researcher and academic, to continue. But just to let you know that the president has just landed in Niger State. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen, following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Business lives on the fast track of numbers. Business is a strange world where low numbers mean something different. And its currency are speed and time.
Okay, welcome back. And our guest is Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufa'i. He's a conflict researcher and academic, and he's been explaining the spate of violence and really, as it were, describing it and telling us what actually is going on, a lot of which is, as he said, shielded from conventional media, and that there are devices. And well, I was just saying to him, and he was explaining about that. I had said to him, I was a bit astounded when he said that the only way out, in his opinion, is that there has to be dialogue, there has to be negotiation. And then he went further to say that a lot of the actors, so to speak, are actually known to the authorities. So much so, and perhaps the most astounding one that he said was that there are some of them indeed that are no strangers to state houses up in the northwest there. Now, I imagine there are a lot of viewers that will be watching this and will be equally as astounded. So, for instance, somebody has just called in. Let me take that person, Dr. Rufa'i, and then we'll go from there. Good morning, Mr. George, calling in from Lagos.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the guest.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, in the first place, I do not see the difference between these bandits and Boko Haram. When you look at their modus operandi, it is just the same thing. Maybe as they were dislodged in the Northeast, they found new ways of making money and fame out of the crime. I am unable to agree with what the speaker said in respect of negotiations with the bandits.
Dialogue and negotiations.
And negotiations. I am not able to agree with that. The unscrupulous elements, there's no doubt there are some unscrupulous elements in the society that are aiding and abetting these bandits. But the government needs to do its work in spite of that by making sure that any bandit or kidnapper that is caught is given the appropriate punishment according to our law. What we see is even the ones that have been arrested, once the army or the police arrest them, we don't hear anything again. And in no time, they will come and break the jail cells and release the people in detention. Then they go back to the bush to continue with the same business. The military, in my view, Uncle Yori, should be going after these bandits. Because, like the speaker said, the people know these people. They know where they are. He said that even the community members know their names and their backgrounds. So the military cannot say they do not know where these people are. And they don't need to wait until the president gives an order before you get rid of a criminal. I've been saying, and I will continue to say, that the president should give the military chiefs KPI, like he has given to the ministers, and let the National Security Advisor take charge of it and monitor them. Key performance index, for them to know that if they do not meet up with the expected standard, they stand to lose their jobs within a specified period. Because to me, it seems it has also become some element of business among our security chiefs. In some cases, we see where even a minister came out and said the illegal miners are also sponsoring these bandits. It has got to a point that a minister has to come to the open to say, this is what I know of this. Why am I pointing out this one? It's because those that have been identified in this business were not properly punished. They are not properly punished. If they are not properly punished, more of the business will thrive. More people will go into it. And lastly, on Koyori, this government, I dare say, is too lenient on criminals. You can't be nice to criminals. They will bring you down.
Okay. Let me take the perspective of our guest on that. Well, Dr. Rufa'i, you heard his opinions in there.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, George.
Yes.
One thing I want us to understand is that we should try as much as possible to avoid city and the urban interpretation or analysis of a rural phenomenon. What we see in the media is absolutely different from what is the reality on the ground. Boko Haram and bandits are two different groups altogether that operating in two different worlds. If there are patterns in terms of their strategy of operations, for instance, one could say yes, the way they attack communities. There is a relative success in the fight against Boko Haram. Why? Because they belong to a particular zone and in a particular area, and then it is a well-defined and well-organized crime with a certain pattern. For instance, if you break this chain, the supply chain of their logistics, fuel, money, for instance, you have succeeded in dealing with Boko Haram more than 60%.